Elias Harper never came home early. Board meetings bled into red-eye flights. Investment calls turned into overnight strategy sessions. And the $7.3 billion empire he had built from scratch consumed every minute of his life. His wife, Camille, often joked that she saw his face more on Forbes covers than in their own bedroom. But today was different. A gut feeling, a quiet tug in his chest, a strange, tightening instinct he couldn't name. Elias ignored the chauffeur, slipped into a discreet black SUV, and took the hour-long drive from Manhattan to their secluded Connecticut estate without telling Camille a thing. And all the while, he couldn't shake the sense he was not supposed to see. What he was about to walk into. The sun dipped behind the pines when he arrived. The house, 12,000 square feet of stone, steel, and glass, glowed warmly against the falling dusk. Too warmly, the kind of warmth that felt staged. He stepped out quietly. No assistants, no guards. Just him and the feeling. He approached the front door, but before he reached it, he heard a voice float from the open kitchen window. A voice that made his blood run cold. It was his adoptive mother, Mama Jotha, woman who raised him in a cramped Detroit apartment after taking him in at age 6. The woman whose soft hands shielded him from gang-ridden streets, whose voice prayed him through sickness, whose strength held him through every heartbreak. Her voice trembled. "Camille, why would you say something like that?" Then Camille's voice, sharp, clipped, and trembling with anger. "You shouldn't be here, Joe. You show up unannounced. You wander around like you own the place. And you talk to my staff like you're some queen of this household." Elias froze. His wife's tone wasn't just sharp, it was vicious. Mama Joe's voice stayed gentle. "Baby, I only came to bring Elias's favorite sweetbread. You know he loves, I don't care what he loves," Camille snapped. "I'm his wife, which means I set the rules here. And rule number 1, you don't just walk into this house. You wait to be invited." Silence. A long, painful silence. Then Camille added coldly, "Honestly, I don't know what Elias sees in you. You come in here acting like you matter simply because you raised him. But don't get confused, raising a kid doesn't give you power. Being his mother doesn't give you power." And being, her voice dropped to a whisper. But Elias heard every syllable. Being his black adoptive mother doesn't give you special privileges either. Elias felt something crack deep inside him. It wasn't just the words, it was the contempt behind them. "Mama," Joe inhaled sharply. "Now listen, Camille, you can talk down to me all you want, but you don't ever bring race into this. I didn't raise Elias to tolerate disrespect, not even from the woman he chose to marry." "Oh please," Camille scoffed. "Do you think he'd believe your version of anything over mine? Do you think he'd pick you over me? His wife, the woman he built this entire life with." Elias clenched the doorknob, but he didn't enter. Not yet. He needed to understand how far this had gone. Camille continued, voice dripping poison. "You shouldn't be here. And once Elias gets home, if he ever comes home, you're going to pretend you were treated well. You're going to smile. You're going to stay silent. Because if you try to turn him against me, I will shut you out of his life permanently. Do you understand?" Mama Joe whispered, voice breaking. "I've loved that boy since the day he came into my home with a busted lip and no shoes. You can't just erase me." Camille's voice was ice. "Watch me." That was enough. Elias swung the door open. The sound echoed like thunder through the marble dining hall. Mama Joe turned. Tears glistened in her eyes. Camille froze, shock, draining the color from her face. "Elias." Camille stuttered. "You're home early." Elias stepped forward, jaw tight, voice low and trembling. "I heard every word." And the room went still. Dead, suffocating still. The kind that comes before an explosion. For a long moment, Elias just stood there, staring at the woman he thought he knew. Camille's eyes flicked rapidly, calculating lies, excuses, whatever she could wield. But the truth was already laid bare between them like a shattered mirror. "I didn't mean you came at the wrong time." She misunderstood. "Mama Joe doesn't misunderstand anything," Elias said tightly. "She tells the truth. Always." He turned to Mama Joe gently. "You okay?" Her eyes softened, filling with a mixture of relief and heartbreak. "I'm fine, baby. I just didn't expect." Camille stepped forward, desperate. "She's twisting things. She's always had a problem with me." Elias's voice sharpened. "And what exactly is her problem with you?" Camille opened and closed her mouth, scrambling. "She undermines me. She makes me feel like I'm not good enough. Like I'll never be who you really want." "That's not what I said." "Camille," Mama Joe murmured, "you said plenty." Camille snapped, turning on her again. "You've been passive-aggressive with me for years, acting holier than, coddling Elias like he's still some lost kid from a broken neighborhood who needs saving." Elias stepped protectively in front of Mama Joe. "You don't get to talk to her like that." Camille's face twisted, anger laced with fear. "You weren't supposed to hear that," she said, voice trembling. "But since you did, fine, let's have it out." She crossed her arms, chin high. "You spend more emotional energy on her than you do on me." Elias blinked. "She's my mother. She's not your real mother." Camille shot back. The room recoiled. Even Camille seemed startled at her own words. Mama Joe went still. Elias's fists tightened. "My real mother," Elias said slowly, is the woman who fed me when I had nothing, who held me when I cried, who got me through nights when gunshots kept us awake, who worked 2 jobs to put me through school. You think DNA is what makes a mother? Camille swallowed, realizing she'd crossed a line she could never uncross. But Elias wasn't done. Why did you tell her she needed permission to enter this house? He asked. Camille shifted. Because I was overwhelmed. She walks in like she belongs here. Elias cut in. Because she does. Camille shook her head. You don't understand. I've felt pushed aside for years. You run to her for advice before me. You talk about her to the press. She's in all your stories. And I'm just the woman who married into your life and prays every day you won't leave me behind. Mama Jo softened slightly. Child, that's insecurity, Tokan. That's fear, not truth. Camille snapped. Don't patronize me. And there it was, again that venom. Elias stepped closer. What else have you said to her? What else have you done? Camille looked away. Mama Jo, Elias asked. Mama Jo hesitated, then sighed. Eli, she's been cold with me for a long time. Little comments, little jabs. Today was just the first time she raised her voice. Why didn't you tell me? Elias asked. Because she's your wife, Mama Jo said simply. And I ain't bout to be the woman who breaks her son's marriage. Elias exhaled a weary, painful exhale he didn't know he'd been holding for years. Camille stepped forward, voice softening, trembling. I didn't mean to hurt her. I was angry. I was jealous. And yes, I was wrong to bring race into it. I know that. I messed up. But Elias, I love you. I am fighting for us. You don't fight by tearing down my family, he said quietly. Camille's eyes watered. So that's it. You're choosing her over me. No, Elias whispered. I'm choosing what's right. The words hit Camille like a blow. But before she could speak again, a loud crash echoed from the hallway, a vase, shattering. They all froze. Footsteps. Quick, heavy rushed. The house security system had been disabled. Someone else was inside. Elias instinctively stepped in front of both women. Stay behind me, because the night wasn't done with them, and whatever was about to unfold was only just beginning. Elias moved silently toward the hallway. Another thud, a grunt, then the distinct sound of someone rifling through drawers. Camille whispered, terrified. Elias, who's here? Stay with Mama Jo, he ordered. Don't move. Camille clutched Mama Jo's arm, trembling. There was no hostility, now only fear. Elias edged around the corner and saw a man masked, dressed in black, holding a crowbar, tearing through the antique cabinet where Elias kept rare documents. A burglar. The estate was supposed to be secure, nearly impenetrable. So, how did someone get past the gates? Elias stepped forward. Hey! The intruder spun around, raising the crowbar. Before he could strike, Elias tackled him. The two crashed to the ground, grappling violently. The crowbar clanged against the marble floor. The man punched wildly, catching Elias in the jaw. Elias grabbed his arm, twisted hard, and pinned him. But the intruder slipped free and trained and bolted toward the back exit. Elias sprinted after him. Security! Camille screamed behind them. Somebody call. Mama Jo grabbed her wrist. Phone's dead. He cut the line. The man reached the glass patio door, but Elias lunged, catching the back of his jacket. They crashed together onto the deck. The intruder rolled, scrambled up, and leaped over the railing into the yard below. Elias jumped after him. The man sprinted for the tree line but suddenly froze, skidding to a stop because the estate's perimeter lights blazed on, and half a dozen security officers stormed through the gate. Guns drawn, the intruder dropped to his knees. Hands up. One guard shouted, Mr. Harper, are you injured? I'm fine, Elias panted. Get him inside. We need answers. Minutes later, the man was handcuffed in the dining hall right in front of Mama Jo and Camille. Elias demanded, who sent you? The man hesitated, then looked directly at Camille. Her face drained white. No, she whispered. No, 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 what are you looking at me for? Elias's stomach twisted. Camille, what is he talking about? I don't know him. Camille cried. I swear, Elias, I swear. The man smirked under his mask. You should tell him the truth, lady. Camille shook violently. I don't know him. Mama Jo stepped forward, calm, steady. Child, honesty is the only thing that'll save you now. I didn't do anything. Camille screamed, but Elias had known her long enough to recognize when she was lying. One more time, he said to the intruder. Who sent you? The man exhaled slowly. Your wife promised me 200 grand if I grabbed a folder from your cabinet. Elias froze. Camille stepped back, shaking her head violently. That's not I would never. Elias, listen to me. What was in the folder? Elias asked. The intruder shrugged. Didn't get to it, but she said it was worth a fortune to the wrong people. Elias closed his eyes. He knew exactly what folder. A file containing confidential data about a new acquisition information that could crash competing companies if leaked. He opened his eyes, again cold, razor sharp. Camille, why? She collapsed to her knees. I didn't mean for any of this to happen, she sobbed. I was desperate. I was scared you'd leave me. I thought if I had leverage, you'd need me more. Elias felt sick. You were willing to betray my company, betray me, and hurt my mother. Camille looked up, tears streaming. I was wrong. I was stupid. I was jealous of how much you loved her. I didn't know how to compete. Mama Joe knelt beside her, soft but firm. Honey, you don't compete with a mother's love. You join it. Camille broke into sobs. Security dragged the intruder away. The room fell silent. Elias finally spoke quiet, but devastating. Camille, we need to separate. Not forever, but until you get help, until you get healing, until you learn what love is supposed to look like. Camille's sobs softened into broken whispers. Please, don't hate me. I don't, Elias said gently, but I can't protect a marriage you tried to destroy. He turned to Mama Joe, voice cracking. I'm so sorry. She held his face in her hands, eyes warm. Baby, love always finds the truth. The house finally felt still again, safe again. Elias wrapped his arm around Mama Joe as they walked toward the living room together, united, unbroken. Behind them, Camille wept alone, and for the first time in a long time, Elias knew what truly mattered: family, honor, and the courage to face the truth, no matter how dark it seemed. If you want a part 2, a darker twist, or a version told from Mama Joe's POV, just say, continue the series.